The best investors in the world are making 10, 20, some even 50% gains every single year. And what most people don't know is this information on what they're investing in is completely public and available for anyone to access. These are some of the smartest and most successful people in the world. Some of these people have gone to Harvard. Some of these people have started incredibly successful businesses. Some of these people are the presidents of successful hedge funds, some of which are the best in the world. And yet, you can access what they're investing in just through a simple Google search. I'm going to show you exactly what these top investors are investing in and how you can use this to your advantage when you're making a portfolio. Remember to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Okay, so now let's look around a little bit on this website. If we sort by best performance, you'll see Bill Ackman's on top with 19% in the last year. Now keep in mind, this last year hasn't been the best year in the stock market, so 19% in the last year is actually pretty good. Now what I find interesting about Bill is he's an activist investor, so he's intentionally working with the management of these companies to improve their performance. And something I noticed when looking at Bill earlier is his biggest wins, his number 2, number 3, and number 4 of all time in his hedge fund have all been food companies. Now he still owns Chipotle. He bought it a long time ago in 2016, and he's been slowly selling it over time. And now what I find interesting is he's increasing shares as of Q3 of 2022 of this other food company, Restaurant Brands International Incorporated. They own Firehouse Subs, Popeyes, Burger King, and one other, I think. But it's only up 77%. It recently looks like he loaded up a ton in the 2020 crash. He clearly thinks it's going to keep going up, and he has a serious track record for buying these food companies, so this could be really, really interesting. Let's take a look at Lowe's. It's definitely interesting. He's bought a little and sold a little, and then bought a little and sold a little, but he seems to make his biggest buys right at the bottom. He hasn't bought any more of Lowe's recently, but it's crazy that he's somehow timing these bottoms so well. And then also he does kind of the same thing with hotels. So you'll notice if I go back to his biggest winnings, he's also done this with hotels, 285% for that hotel company. So his fourth biggest holding is Hilton, which is hotels. And he bought a lot in COVID. Maybe not a lot, 123,000. But, I guess this was COVID, huh? So 3 million in the COVID crash. So these two right here, definitely you might want to keep your eye on. The next investor that I think is worthwhile to take a look at is Michael Burry. Michael Burry actually doesn't have a ton invested in the stock market right now, but he's known for being super good with his predictions. One of Michael Burry's most famous moves is perfectly timing the housing bubble in 2008. He made a ton of money by buying credit default swaps, which basically said that if the housing market failed, he would make a ton of money. And that's what he did. Now what's super interesting is he's still right a lot of the time. It wasn't just a one-time thing. He's made over a 200% return in the last 5 years. So I think looking at some of his stocks is super worthwhile. Okay, so now here's Michael's portfolio. He has a 15% return in the last year. His portfolio is actually only $100 million. I'm not exactly sure why it's so low, but regardless, he's still making a ton of money. If we look at his performance, like I was saying earlier, his 5-year performance is 200%, and maybe more impressive is his 3-year performance, which is 251%. So if we look at his investments, they are all over the place. And I think what people don't know about Michael right now is he is buying up a ton of Chinese e-commerce stocks. That's what JD.com is here. And he just barely bought some. I don't know if there's credibility to that or not, but it is interesting for sure. And the same thing with Alibaba. He bought 50,000 shares, apparently 2 separate times, not too long ago. So I'd have to do further research on that, why he's buying these Chinese e-commerce stocks. One that I find super interesting, though, is this one. This is a jewelry company. It's only got a $3 billion market cap, and he's just barely entered it. He's never entered it before, and clearly it has some long-term potential growth. He just bought some in Q1 of 2023, and it's his only buy ever. Now, if we do enter a bull run when this recession is over, this is definitely one to keep your eyes on. It did go from 150 or so down to $7, so that's a little scary. But other than that, I mean, if we do enter a new bull market, this could be a really good stock, especially with only a $3 billion market cap. But I'd have to do more research for sure. And then here's his top holding. It's a Bank Corp, and he bought a ton. I mean, it's a banking crisis, so the bank stocks are down, and I'm guessing Michael clearly sees this as a good opportunity. So definitely interesting. The next investor I want to take a look at is Warren Buffett. Now, Warren's often attributed to be one of the best investors in modern history. Whether or not that's true, we're going to take a look at that in a second. But Warren is a value investor, so he invests in companies that are undervalued, that aren't going away, that have real profits, so that way he knows he's not going to lose his money. And clearly that's worked out for him. He's 90-something years old, and he's one of the richest people in the world. Okay, so let's take a look at Warren's portfolio. Now, as you can see from over here on the right, Warren's portfolio is worth $331 billion, so he's loaded. He has 47% of his portfolio in Apple, which actually really surprised me because he's known for diversification. But it makes sense because he also understands that Apple is a company that's not going away and has real profits. And that's what he's all about. As you can see, he does this with everything. Coca-Cola is not going away. American Express, Chevron, these are all companies that are going to be around that have real profits, and he understands that. And so he does what he needs to do to not lose his $331 billion that he already has, and it's clearly worked for him. So let's see how well he's done over time. Over the past 5 years, he's up 68%. So he clearly understands how to preserve value, which is pretty cool. The next person I want to take a look at is Bill Gates. He is one of the richest people in the world and is known for founding Microsoft. He also has the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which strives to help people in need. And he is, nonetheless, an investor. He has $47 billion in the stock market. We're going to take a look at his portfolio. Okay, so here's Bill Gates' portfolio. It's actually $37 billion. I think I said $47 billion earlier. But what I find super interesting is his top holding is Microsoft, 32% of his portfolio, which I think is really funny because he founded Microsoft. He sold a ton of Microsoft, 16 million shares total. And then just now he's like, I want Microsoft back. It's kind of funny. It kind of feels like FOMO a little bit. He's like, oh, I miss my company. Canadian National Railway. I don't know enough about this to be able to talk about it, but 17% of his net worth is in it, and he is still increasing shares, so definitely worth looking into. He owns a lot of value companies like Waste Management, not going away, Caterpillar, not going away, John Deere. These companies aren't going away, Walmart, and he has $37 billion he doesn't want to lose, so it makes sense. The next person I want to take a look at is Ray Dalio. He's co-chief investment officer of the world's largest hedge fund, and he's worth $19 billion. He's been doing investing for a long time, and I think it's interesting to see what he's currently investing in. Okay, so here's Ray Dalio's portfolio, which totals $16.5 billion, which is crazy. He studied at Harvard Business, and you can see he's definitely a value investor. He's a lot like Warren and Bill. He's investing in companies that aren't going away, Pepsi, Coke, Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's, Costco, Walmart. He has a Vanguard ETF. He's investing in the S&P 500, Procter & Gamble, and what I think is super interesting is he's investing in this emerging markets ETF, which, if you don't know a lot about Ray Dalio, he believes in the changing world order. He wrote a book on it, and the changing world order is basically talking about the world reserve currency and how it might not be the United States at some point. Crazy stuff. You'd have to look more into it, but clearly he thinks that other countries are going to grow, and so he's got his number one asset as an emerging markets ETF. So crazy. Okay, that is all for this video. If you appreciated this or learned something, it would really mean a lot if you'd leave a like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.